Yo, what is up everyone, Z-Karmic here, and welcome back to another boring math video here in Borderlands 3. Today I bring you guys another dedicated drop raids video. Recently, the dedicated drops have been spread out to different enemies to thin out the loot pools, therefore increasing each individual legendary's drop rate. So today I will bring you the loot I got after 1000 kills on GenIVIV. 500 of these were done before the update and 500 after. We're going to do a before and after comparison of this patch, and here's what we're going to be taking a look at. First off, we're going to look at the number of world drops, not including class mods and artifacts, followed by the number of class mods dropped, and finally the number of dedicated drops with the number of each specific dedicated drop. Once we do this, we will go more in depth on the drop rates on the Reflux shotgun and show you what you can expect when you farm for yourselves. So before I get into this video, if you found it informative or helpful in any way, a like rating is always appreciated, and if you want to subscribe for more content like this, that'll be awesome as well. Starting off with the amount of world drops. Before the update we had 955, and after the update we had 988. As you can see, this has obviously been unchanged. We got about the same amount, so no surprise here. Now, before we move on, for the post-patch 500 kills, I also recorded the amount of character-specific anointments I received. And obviously, all of the 988 world drops were anointed. And out of those, 416 were character-specific, which makes up about 42%. And this is actually very interesting because in my previous video, GenIVIV also had a 42% rate for character-specific anoints, so we're definitely onto something here. Out of those 416 character-specific anoints, 258 were for Amara, which is the character I was using, making up about 62% of them, and 158 were for other characters, which makes up the other 38%. Same with GenIVIV, there was a 58% to a 42% rate. As you can see, this is a very similar trend that basically tells us that using a specific character will more likely give you that same character's anointments. Although I still need to test with other characters because it might just be a case of Amara anointments being more common. Moving on to compare the amount of class mods that were dropped. Before the update we had 162 and after we had 158. As you can see, the class mod drop rate for GenIVIV is about a 30%. GenIVIV had a 37%. So I would advise you to farm GenIVIV instead of GenIVIV for class mods. Now, for the post-patch 500 kills, I also recorded the amount of class mods I got for Amara and the amount for different Vault Hunters. So, out of the 158 class mods, 122 were for Amara, which makes up about 77.2%, and 36 of them were for other characters, which makes up the 22.78%. Again, just like in my previous videos, it seems that around 70% of the class mods that dropped are for your character, and the remaining 30% is for other Vault Hunters. Anyway, moving on to the dedicated drops. Before the patch, I had 192, and after I had 187. The dedicated drop rate is actually 30%. However, due to some of the dedicated drops also being world drops, it tends to be a little higher. And as you can tell, the drop rate is the same. However, before the update, we had 5 dedicated drops assigned to GenIVIV. The Polybius shotgun, the 10-gallon, the messy breakup, the Hunter Seeker, and the Reflux. But now, there's only 3, the Polybius, the 10-gallon, and the Reflux. And as you can see, the diluting of the loot pool increased the drop rate of the Reflux from a 7.6% to a 12%. The drop rate for the Reflux is actually higher than every other legendary in this pool. However, due to the other drops also being world drops, they would sometimes drop as world drops and not as dedicated drops, making it a little more common than the Reflux. Because as you know, the Reflux is only a dedicated drop. Anyway, what's really unfortunate is just that I wish that instead they would have only left the messy breakup and the Reflux. That way the Reflux drop rate would be even higher, and additionally we could simultaneously farm for the messy breakup. Anyway, now let's focus on the Reflux and go a little more in depth. We got 60 in 500 kills, which gives us the 12% drop rate. The actual data mined drop rate is 11.4%, by the way. If you want to see a list of all dedicated drop rates, I will link a spreadsheet created by Spire, which has every dedicated drop along with their drop rate and location. It'll be in the pinned comment below. Anyway, as you can tell, my drop rates were basically spot on. So what should you expect when farming GenIVIV? Well, first, you need to understand that a 12% drop rate does not necessarily mean that you will get at least 1 in 10 kills or at least 12 in 100 kills. When looking at probabilities, you need to realize that there is always a margin of error. So I will use a binomial probability confidence interval of 95%. This will give us a range of results we should expect after X amount of kills. So let's say you farm GenIVIV 100 times expecting a 12% drop rate. Well, just know that with the 95% confidence interval, you should actually expect anywhere between 6.3 and 20% drop rate, which is a huge gap. However, with statistics, the more kills you get, the closer your results will be to the expected rate. So at 500 kills, expect a drop rate anywhere between 9 and 15%. Here, there is only a margin of error of plus or minus 3%. If you want to lower that margin of error to a plus or minus 2%, you'll need to farm 1000 times, where 95% of the time your drop rate should be between 10 and 14%. Anyway, moving on, I wanted to talk about the Reflux a little more. Here are the amount of Reflux I got after every set of 100 kills. And as you can see, when we take a look at the 95% confidence interval with just 100 kills, each of these values will land within the interval of 6.3 and 20%. Surprisingly though, the drop rate of the Reflux was incredibly consistent. Keep in mind, this won't always happen. Sometimes one of the numbers could be 20%, and others it could only be 7%. However, once again, the more kills you get, the closer your result will be to mine. And finally, the most important question of them all, how many of my Reflux were times 7 and how many were times 14? Well, out of the 60 Reflux, 53 were the times 7 variant, so about 88% of them. And the rest, 12% of them, were times 14, which makes 7 of them. So basically 7 out of 500 kills. That is a 1.4% drop rate. That is actually really bad. So if you're specifically looking for a times 14 Reflux with consecutive hits, well, you might not ever find it. The reason I say this is because let's say there are 40 possible anointments. Well, I can multiply my 1.4% drop rate by 1 out of 40 anointments, which gives me a 0.035% chance at getting a times 14 Reflux with consecutive hits. But guess what? The RNG gods blessed me here, and here it is, my times 14 consecutive hits Reflux. I am extremely lucky. But anyway, I will go ahead and end the video here. If you found this informative or helpful in any way, a like rating is always appreciated, and if you want to subscribe for more content like this, that'll be awesome as well. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.